Hey students, today we are going to discuss the topic of an adaptation. Okay, and adaptation is an inherited trait that helps an organism survive or reproduce. Adaptation can include both body parts and behavior. Okay, think of an adaptation as a special survival tool that an animal or plant is born with. Okay, it is not something they learn, it's a part of who they are, passed down from their parents. Like the shape of a bird's beak is one of example of an adaptation. Bird's beak can be adapted in different ways. Like you can say that a hawk has a sharp hooked beak to tear meat, while a duck has a flat beak to strain food from water. They did not choose these beaks, okay? They were born with the perfect tool for the food they eat. Okay, the animal in the picture is a gasneck, okay, and it has a very famous physical adaptation. That is its long neck. Okay, here is why that neck is so important. You know, in the dry places where this animal lives, most of the tasty green leaves on the ground get eaten quickly. Okay, the only food left is often high up on the bushes and trees. Okay, so the gerenuk is born with an extra long, thin neck. This is a physical adaptation. Okay, that gives it a massive advantage over other animals. Like it can reach leaves that other animals its size can't touch. Okay, to make its neck reach even higher, the gerenuk can actually stand on its back legs, okay? As I have told you that the shape of an animal's neck is one of the example of an adaptation, like physical adaptation. Animal's neck can be adapted in different ways. Okay, this is another perfect example of physical adaptation. These images show fish with very specific mouth shapes and teeth, okay? Just like we use a knife to cut steak, these fish are born with knives built right into their mouths. Okay, notice that their teeth are pointed, triangular, and very sharp. So, its purpose is that this adaptation is specifically for tearing meat. These fish are predators, like they don't eat plants or tiny seeds, they catch other animals. Okay, if these fish had flat teeth like a cow or a human's, they would not be able to grip or cut through their prey. Okay? They would go hungry. Okay. Like the shape of an animal's mouth is one of the example of an adaptation. Like this is a physical adaptation. Okay? Animal's mouth can be adapted in different ways. For example, a large mouth with sharp teeth might help an animal tear through meat. A long, thin mouth might help an animal catch insects that live in holes. Animals that eat similar food often have similar mouths. Okay? Okay. Now, look at how different this is from the meat eating fish we just saw. This is a three spot dam shellfish and its adaptation is a narrow mouth. Okay. Why is a narrow mouth? Because its uses is narrow mouth to pick tiny algae or floating plankton out of small cracks. Okay, think of its mouth like a pair of tweezers, like it can reach into tight spots where a big mouth fish couldn't. Okay. Okay, arms, legs, flippers and wings are the different types of limbs. Okay, the types of limbs an animal has is an example of adaptation. Animals' limbs can be adapted in different ways. Okay, for example, long legs might help an animal run fast, flippers might help an animal swim, wings might help an animal fly. Okay, the shape of the limb tell you exactly how an animal survive in its environment. Like animals like leopards have long, powerful legs. Why? Because this allowed them to run fast. Okay? Animals like seals, penguins, or sea turtles have flat paddle like limbs. These act like oars on a boat, helping them push through heavy water to swim quickly. Okay? Whereas birds and bats have limbs covered in feathers or skin membranes. These are the shape to catch the air so the animal can fly to find food or stay safe high above the ground. Okay? So, okay, this slide gives us a real life example of the limbs adaptation we just talked about. The Galapagos sea lion. Okay? Instead of having paws with toes or long legs for running, the sea lion has flippers. Flippers are flat and wide, which make them act like paddles. When the sea lion is in the water, it can push against the liquid to zoom forward. Okay? So it needs to be faster than the fish it wants to eat. Okay? And it also needs to be fast enough to escape predators like sharks or orcas.